welcome back to Buckle Up. My name is Rob Wilson and this is the new Renault 4, and today I'm going to find out if it's any good. Okay, so before we drive it, let's have a quick look around the outside, and we'll start as usual here at the front, where it is pretty obvious where Renault got the inspiration from. It is a Renault 4, but the old one, and that is very much reflected in the face that we have going on here. We've got some nice cutesy round headlights. We do actually have a plastic clear cover across the front of the car here. This badge lights up. There is some cooling bits down here. There's some actual aero going on here. But yes, very chunky, rugged, but also very cute. Down at the side, we have some 18-inch diamond cut alloy wheels. We have this interesting little badge thing going on with the French flag. On this side, it's just that, but on the other side, it's the charging flap. And you can charge this car at 100 kilowatts. So 10 to 80% is about half an hour. If you have a wall charger at home, a 7 kilowatt one, then you can charge it in about 8 hours. So it's overnight, so it makes it nice and simple. And the battery in this car is a 52 kilowatt hour unit. That's the usable size. We've got some black mirror caps, black roof, proper chunky roof rails, bit of black plastic down here. The doors are ribbed for your pleasure. We've also got more reminiscent styling with a window part of the C-pillar here, like the old Renault 4. We've got some chunky black plastic, and we have a mistake on Renault's part. This colour is called green on their website. That's wrong. It's quite obviously blue. At the back, we of course have more retro styling. We have the lip from someone's cap on the back here. We have a rear wiper. We have the Renault script here, a 4 badge, nice retro looking lights, bit of interesting bumper design going on again, trying to look retro, but it isn't really because it's new. And if we open up the boot, which is electronic, you will find either 375 litres or 425 litres, depending on which source you read on the internet. I think one is up to the window line and one is all the way up to the roof line. We've also got a special 36 litre compartment under the boot floor, which unclips and you can take out. It is waterproof as well, so you can put wet things in there and it won't ruin your carpet, which is really good. You can also put the charging cables in there if you really want to, but yeah, at the minute they're just sort of there. We've got some straps with the French flag on as well, some tie-down points in each of the corners, a couple of cubbies, there's a light, and if I fold down the seats you have 1,405 litres of space, which is actually really rather good. But yes, that is the boot. It's much more practical than the 5. Let's go and see if the back seats are much more practical than the 5. Okay, so here in the back, and I shall start by addressing the amount of space that I have in here, because while I do have more room than I did when I tested the Renault 5 earlier in the year, I am still not really that comfortable back here. I should say though that this seat is set up in my driving position, and I am 6'2" or 188 centimetres tall. So if you are not my height, you'll probably be all right. In terms of knee room, I don't have any, so that's a bit of a problem. In terms of foot room, I also have none, because the seat is in its lowest position for my stupidly tall body to sit in when I drive it. In terms of headroom though, it's pretty good because this is a boxy car, as I'm sure that you could see from the outside. And while we're up here, look at this headlining. Sort of nice and square. It's cool. The seats are actually reasonably comfortable. They've got some interesting square patterns on them, bit of like tweedy material. There's also some more French flag elements. There isn't any armrest in the middle seat backrest, but there is a middle seat available if you wanted it. Obviously, if you had 3 of me, you would not be able to sit in the back of this car, but I'm sure that you can see from the front passenger seat that there are people who are not as tall as me, and you will fit behind them because there is actually a decent amount of room there. We've got Isofix on the outer seats as well. Big win over the Renault 5 is the fact that we've got rear door pockets. That is something that you are not afforded in the 5. We've also got pockets on the backs of both of the front seats. We've got 2 USB-Cs and a little cubby for storing things in down there in that center console as well. But yes, while it does have a flat floor, it doesn't really work for me. But I'm hoping that when I head up front, it's a little bit more roomy and I can breathe out again. Okay, so up here, obviously, I've got much more room because I can sit in a very comfortable position. The seats are actually really nice. They've got good bolstering on them, very supportive, and there is quite a lot of adjustment in the steering wheel as well. So that's good. On my steering wheel, on this side, I've got controls for my adaptive cruise control. I can set the distance and all of that lovely stuff. And then on the right hand side, I've got more of my menu functions for my digital drivers cluster. So I've got phone, speaking to the car. I can change the view of things that I have in here as well. So I can have the maps displayed, how many miles per kilowatt hour I'm managing to do. I've got my screen that shows me what's happening around me if I put my cruise control functions on. I've also got a Manatino switchy thing here that says multi-sense, which does sound a little bit sexy, but isn't. It's just the drive modes. It's eco, comfort, sport, or personal. I tend to just keep it in eco. Then we've got a lot of things happening behind the steering wheel. Indicators and lights, conventional. Wipers, conventional. Not conventional is the controls for the volume and changing the track, which is hidden here on the back of the steering wheel. It is conventional if you have an old car or a Renault, but that is it. And then we have the drive selector up here on a weird stalk thing, which you can sometimes interfere and knock the wipers on or put the car in reverse when you're trying to put the wipers on. It's you know, it's great French ergonomics, as we've all become used to. We've also got some buttons to the right hand side of the steering wheel, one for opening up the boot, one for changing the level of the lights, and my favourite button in any new car, which is just a picture, a top-down picture of a car in a circle, and if I press that and then press it again, it turns off all of the annoying bongs and beeps that modern cars come with, and it's just 2 presses of a button. Easy, simple, done. Love that. Well done, Renault. In the centre here, we have the 10.1 inch screen. It is worth noting that if you go for the very basic version of this car, you do get a smaller screen. It's only about 7 inches and it doesn't have all of the functionality that this one has, and it looks a bit weird. So definitely step up to one of the higher spec cars. And in here, you actually have Google inbuilt into the system. So you've got Google Maps and Google Assistant, but it's really easy and relatively quick to navigate between. And obviously you can connect up your Apple CarPlay and Android Auto should you wish to. Now, we do have climate controls on physical buttons below the central air vents. So I can actually up and lower the temperature, the fan speed, the front window defogger, the rear heated screen. I've got an auto button, recirc, aircon on max, and I can change the direction, and just simply an off button, which I like. There should be more cars with off buttons in. Problem is, if I want to put my heated seats or heated steering wheel on, I do have to go into the screen to do that. But to be fair, that's not really that bad because you've got the physical switches below. It means it's much clearer and easier to press these buttons from here. It's not like I'm trying to do that and go into a sub menu and then hit seating and then hit heated seats. It's there and it's simple and it's easy to use. Below all of this fancy stuff, we've got a electronic handbrake holder, auto hold, a little cubby which I'm not really sure what is useful for. We've got a 12-volt socket, 2 USB-Cs, a wireless phone charger, and then a little pocket here, which I think is where you're supposed to put the key for this car. Now, the key is one of these. I was going to call it a credit card, but that would be giving it too much credit because it isn't anything. It's completely useless, actually, because it doesn't go in your pocket properly. It doesn't attach to anything because it doesn't have a key ring on it. So you have to buy a cover if you then want to put it on a key ring, which makes it even chunkier and more annoying. Please get rid of this. It is terrible. Anyway, that goes there. There are 2 cup holders here in the middle, and there's a divider that you can pull out if you want to. We've got an armrest that lifts up. There is a small cubby in there. It's actually bigger inside than the opening is, which is a bit weird and a little bit annoying. We've got a glove box, which isn't quite the usual French nonsense where they've got the full fuse box in there that takes up the entire glove box. It is reasonably useful and quite deep actually, so you can put a few things in there. We've got front door pockets which are actually smaller than the rear door pockets, and that's sort of it. In terms of materials in here, nice use of different tweedy cloth materials, a bit of leather, a bit of stitching. This lights up, this Renault 4 badge lights up as well. And yeah, it's actually quite nice in here, which you wouldn't necessarily expect at this price point, because this car starts at around £26,000, can go up to this sort of spec. We're just on the wrong side of 30,000, but that's in the right ballpark for this car's rivals. So let's go and see how it drives. Okay then, so out driving the new Renault 4. So let's start off by talking about the figures. So as I've mentioned, we have a 52 kilowatt hour battery, that's usable space. And unlike the Renault 5, that's the only option in here. You cannot go for the smaller battery option like you can in the 5, but that makes things nice and simple. So we've got 148 brake horsepower, we've got 245 newton meters of torque. That means 0 to 62 in 8.2 seconds and a top speed of 93 miles per hour. Now, with this bigger battery, we have a claimed WLTP range of 247 miles. But that's based on this car doing 4 miles per kilowatt hour, and I've been driving around in this one and it's averaging somewhere between 3.4 and 3.8 depending on how vigorously I'm driving and in what scenario. Obviously, if I'm on a motorway, then it's doing the lowest end of that spectrum, and if I'm driving around town, it's doing more than 4 miles per kilowatt hour, to be honest. Around town is especially impressive. In terms of how this car drives, well, it's very similar to the 5 that we had on the channel earlier this year, and I think it drives really rather well. It's obviously not a sports car, so don't think that it is, but that doesn't stop it being fun or engaging to drive, because yes, it's bigger than the 5, but it is still a small car relative to what else you can get out there. And while it is taller and obviously longer than a 5, it isn't really any wider, and I like that because it does feel nimble and narrow enough to deal with obviously town and city traffic, but also in the UK with our B roads and our small single track roads, like some of the ones I've been on today. It doesn't feel oversized. It also doesn't feel heavy either, because this car in this spec, well, in all specs, is less than 1.5 tons. And while that doesn't sound brilliant when you're thinking about petrol or ICE cars, it is for an EV. Most of the cars that we end up in nowadays, the EVs, are all usually the wrong side of 2 tons. Some are the wrong side of 2.5 tons. So it is really refreshing to get into a small, reasonably sized EV that doesn't weigh the same as an aircraft carrier. And obviously that helps with the driving experience. It means it's light enough to be chucked around on a road and it doesn't complain too much. There's also different modes that I can select through using the multi-sense button. We've got Eco, we've got Comfort, we've got Sport, and we've got Perso, which is obviously an individual mode that you can switch the different settings around. Most of the time I do just tend to leave it in Eco because that makes the most sense when you're just driving normally. But I do find in Eco mode you really do have to press the pedal beyond the stopping point really to get it to react. I also like that you can play around with the regen, and we do have full one pedal driving in here. It will come to a stop without me needing to touch the brake pedal. The main difference I think between the 5 and the 4 is this seating position. Obviously I feel like I am sat a little bit higher in this car and therefore have a little bit more of a clearer view about what's going to be coming up ahead. Another thing I have to mention is just how much people look at this car and stare and smile it does generate a reaction from people, and it's people that aren't necessarily interested in cars. You know, people come up and say, what is that? Like, this looks like an old car, but it's a new car and it's electric. And I think it'll win a lot of people over just with how it looks. Same with the 5, really. I do like the design. It's very comfortable. The seats are reasonably supportive. It's good use of different kinds of materials. So with that in mind, I think we'll go back now and I'll do a proper conclusion. Okay then, so that is the Renault 4 tested. So what am I thinking? Well, obviously I love how it looks, but most importantly, it addresses my biggest flaws with the 5, which was practicality. It is ever so slightly more roomy in the back. It obviously has a much bigger boot, and because it's only available with the bigger battery, that does mean it is just more convenient to have as well. Let me know what you think about it though down in the comments. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a like, but most importantly, subscribe and ding the notification bell so you never miss one of our uploads. If you want to support what we do, you can go down to the description where you've got links to our channel memberships, our merch, and you can follow us on all forms of social media. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.